I need to start by saying that I love this show. When this first season came out, I was absolutely hooked, floored, rewatched it multiple times, and could not believe that I was going to get a second season of it. There are very few shows for me that hooked me the way it did, and especially at a time where most people weren't even paying attention to Netflix's new originals, especially their science fiction and fantasy genres. Some shows are entertaining, a few are memorable, but every once in a while, you get a full season of a show that feels like an entirely realized world, bursting with story, with mystery, and with atmosphere. For me, Altered Carbon Season 1 is this show. To me, it's one of the best science fiction shows Netflix has ever created. I'm Sage Patel, and I love all things science fiction and fantasy. I'm also author of a series called Tarek that combines a bit of both, and you should check it out below. Today on Sage and Sorcery, we're talking about Altered Carbon. I'm really excited to go into this one because it combines all of my favorite elements of many different things into one glorious season, at least for the first one. Altered Carbon is a cyberpunk noir detective story that's stylish, gripping, and complex, especially in its first season. Set 300 years into the future, humanity has conquered death. Human minds are stored in what's called digital stacks that can be uploaded into new bodies or sleeves. Essentially, the rich live forever, jumping from body to body, while the poor, of course, struggle to even afford one second chance. It's a world that immediately raises questions around morality, identity, and power. And that's what makes it fun. Altered Carbon isn't afraid to confront them all at once, and they do a really, really good job of doing it. Season 1 kicks off with Takeshi Kovacs, an elite soldier, being brought back to life centuries after his death to solve a crime for a very, very rich human being that has been murdered. That detective story launches us into a world of political intrigue, military conspiracies, and deeply personal vendettas. To me, the genius is in the multiple plot threads. The noir mystery of who kills Lawrence Bancroft, the slow reveal of Kovacs' very violent past, the tension between the cops and the mercenaries in the city, and the philosophical question of what it really means to live forever. It's layered without being overwhelming, and every thread pays off in a way that makes Season 1 feel like a complete, unique, own story from start to finish. The cast is phenomenal. If you did not like Joel Kinnaman in Suicide Squad or a bunch of other things he's in, you will love him in this. I think he is a powerhouse. I think he deserves a lot more credit than he actually gets. His character is haunted, is brutal, but is capable of personal vulnerability. Kristen Ortega, played by Martha Higareda, is fierce and funny, and also deeply layered. She, in many ways, represents the human costs in a world where bodies are interchangeable. And then there's Poe. For me, the AI hotel manager is the perfect side character. He provides the comic relief and, of course, comes in with the most unexpected levels of personal and human relatability. The most unexpected emotional moments come from Poe. Even the other side characters feel like they're fleshed out. So many throughout the city feel alive and dangerous in a way that very few sci-fi shows are able to pull off. To me, especially for a TV show, the world building is jaw-dropping. Think Blade Runner with a little bit more neon and a little bit more moral decay. The class divides between the Mets, pretty funny way to describe the immortal rich, and the struggling poor. And the contrast is genuinely striking in a way that hits every kind of chord that we experience today. The use of AI is brilliant, and this is before we all started using ChatGPT. Poe isn't just comic relief, he's a metaphor for loneliness and even identity in a society where humans are constantly changing what they look like, what they act, and are able to live for much longer than we currently do. The idea is that even though you're swapping bodies, you can never really escape yourself. And for me, the details, the architecture, the tech, the storylines, the way people are casually treating death and resurrection make it one of the most convincing sci-fi settings I think in the last decade. Every great noir has its twists, and Altered Carbon delivers. Let's just say, without getting into the actual spoilers, the revelation of Kovacs' past and who ends up ultimately be the culprit for Lawrence Bancroft's murder. Let's just say that the revelation about Kovacs' past and the Bancroft case elevates the story beyond just a classic whodunit. To me, the pacing is nearly flawless. Each episode builds tension, answers questions, and raises nuance. To me, it keeps you hooked without leaving its thematic core. But there is an elephant in the room. Season 2. I was really excited for Season 2 to come out. I was over the moon when I found out they actually gave it a second season. I couldn't even believe that they got Anthony Mackie to be one of the main character actually for the entire show for that season. He's a very talented actor, but the reality of the writing he was given, the storyline of the second season, and even the pacing within the world building itself, the plotting was messy. The whole detective noir component was lost. And this show leaned too hard on explosions and spectacle instead of the careful, genuine world building and character development that was part of what made the first season so good. Don't get me wrong, Season 2 wasn't unwatchable, but it lacked that spark of what made Season 1 so spectacular. You know, when it was canceled thereafter, I wasn't particularly surprised, and I wasn't as heartbroken. I knew it was coming about halfway through the season. It just didn't feel like it was the same story that was being continued. And ultimately, in many ways, comparing it to the books, it really was. But the execution, maybe the time in between, the changing of the characters, the setting, and the storyline itself that they decided to go with, I felt disconnected ultimately. Here's the thing. Season 1 fully stands on its own. Even if you never watched Season 2, you got one of the best pieces of cyberpunk noir storytelling that we've seen in a very long time. Again, stylish, smart, violent, and deeply human. Altered Carbon Season 1 remains one of my favorite Netflix shows ever. This is Sage and Sorcery, and Altered Carbon proves that when Netflix gets things right, it hits it out of the park. Season 1 is a masterpiece. And even though Season 2 tumbled and lost its way, in my mind, it will always be one of the best Netflix originals ever created.